Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Center of the Divinely Guided. And tonight we're going to be doing A Course in Miracles. But before we get started, I do have a few announcements. I'd just like to say for those of you who are in our area, the Course in Miracles, we do it every Wednesday from 7 to 8:30. And the address is 4345 Ridgemore Drive North. That's in Palm Harbor, Florida. And the zip code is 34685. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. And the other thing that's going on this Saturday, we will be doing a Diksha Oneness Blessing over at Yoga Shakti. And the address to Yoga Shakti is 2625 Keystone Road, and that's in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and that's 34688. And that is always from 5:30 to 6:30 every second and fourth Saturday. The other thing that's going on, we have a really exciting program getting ready to start up, and that is Weight Loss Theater. I know a lot of people are making their New Year's resolutions, and we have a fantastic program. And it is weight loss that is best. And if you want to hear more about that program, you can contact Alan Koleski, and that phone number is 813-802-5044. For more information, please give him a call. It is a fantastic program. Okay, so much for our announcements. We're all here for A Course in Miracles, and our facilitator today is Michael Bryan. And so, Michael, don't leave it here.
Okay, welcome. Anyone who has a book, if we could turn to page 28. If you guys can share there. What you see in italics here, I would actually like for us to just kind of speak in unison as sort of an opening prayer, because I think this is perfectly appropriate to start A Course in Miracles study group with. So, everybody got it?
Yes.
See what I'm talking about in italics?
Mm-hmm.
I am here?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, ready? I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Thank you. And to me this is a very appropriate thing to say at the beginning, other than kind of planning to take a look at the 50 principles of miracles today. I have no idea where this discussion is going to go, and that's kind of how I like it. So, why don't we turn to the very beginning of the book, chapter 1. And actually, let's go one page before that, and once again read the introduction to A Course in Miracles.
What page?
It's the page before chapter 1. Which in my second edition is on page 3, so just flip back one page.
Where it says, this is A Course in Miracles.
A Course in Miracles, correct. So, the introduction, and I think as I mentioned last week, if you get this, you can just go home or teach the course next week or whatever, if you truly get this, which none of us really do, but The introduction kind of sets the tone, I think, for the entire book. And it says, "This is a course in miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God." Yeah. 2 wows. It's powerful. It is. You know, and if you, like I said, if you get this, then, you know, you're already, if you truly get this, you're already enlightened. But, you know, to me, I think this illustrates right up front one of the most important principles of the Course, which is the fact that you, we, us, all are completely safe. There's nothing in this world that can truly harm us. And when I say that, what I mean is that if we take the higher perspective, which does not associate itself specifically with this body living this particular lifetime, the bigger picture is that every one of us is a spark of God, is a piece of all that is eternal, and there's nothing that can change that. So with that perspective, it kind of makes the little daily things that annoy us or upset us or whatever the case is, gives a little different perspective to that kind of stuff. And that's a big part of the Course, which is actually a nice lead-in to what I stumbled across this today, and thought that I would read it. And my idea in reading this is to kind of illustrate the, what's the payoff? Because most people who are willing to show up on a work night and spend time talking about and studying the Course in Miracles are doing so because they are on a spiritual path, plain and simple. Nobody's going to show up and spend time talking about this stuff unless it's meaningful to them. So, that said, the Course is a little difficult to read sometimes for some people, especially if you're just getting started with it, if you don't really understand the terminology. There's a lot of terms used in this book that have a certain meaning to most people's pre-existing awareness of what a word or a concept means. And in many cases, the meaning of a particular word or phrase or concept means something different in this book. So part of the difficulty of reading it is getting past what your mind preconceives that something is supposed to mean based on the experiences that you bring with it. And it's somewhat of a difficult process for some people to even really be able to dig in and understand at least fully what some of this stuff means. But you know, the difficult. This is basically, again, a self-study course for enlightenment. And you know, that process of becoming enlightened means that we have to let go of an awful lot of our preconceived ideas, and that's work. You know, it feels like it. It's not actually our natural way of beingness is exactly what this Course teaches us and tries to bring our awareness back to, which is peace and love and joy. That's what we are, that's what we're made of, that's what we experience when we are perceiving correctly and rightly. But it feels like work to some people to get to that point. And some of this stuff seems pretty esoteric. Seems pretty, highfalutin ideals, so to speak. Jesus, who is, widely understood as the author of this Course in Miracles, was truly a radical teacher. And his ideas and the way that what he teaches is no less radical today than it was 2,000 and some odd years ago when he walked this planet. So, it's hard. But doing the work and spending the time and trying to understand, and the best way that happens is basically to ask for help in perceiving properly. There's a payoff in the world, as the Course refers it to, which is basically everything that happens on this planet. And I stumbled across this today, which is from the very latest and last book of Dr. David Hawkins, who actually passed away not too many months ago. But this is his latest and last book, and there's a quote that I stumbled across from it that I thought was meaningful. The book being called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. And here's the quote: "The more we let go, the more loving we become. More and more of our life will be spent doing things that we love to do with people for whom we feel increasing love. As this happens, our life becomes transformed. We look different. People respond differently to us. We are relaxed, happy, and easygoing. People are attracted to us because they feel comfortable and happy around us." This is the real world. If you must have a real world payoff, this is it. Your life becomes easier, you become less stressed out. When you have a higher level perspective, and a perspective that the Course can lead you towards, things just don't matter as much. Even the so-called big things don't matter as much, if at all. So to me, this is what we're kind of shooting for, is this awareness level, where everything seems joyous and you find yourself more and more in love with life and with the brothers and sisters that you share that with on a day-by-day basis. So, this is what the Course is aiming to teach, and I'll say it again, according to the Course at least, this is our natural inheritance. This is our beingness without trying or doing anything else. We actually have to work to be upset or angry or hurt or fearful or anything that is not of love, joy, or peace. So, with all that said, here's what I'd like to do. We have a few people here to talk about this stuff, and what I would like to do is go around the room and have each person say their name, and I would like each person to come up with the best either one word or short phrase for what they basically first thing that pops into your head for the word miracle. So we can start here, and if you would just say your first name and a short answer or one word for what you think of when you hear the word miracle.
My name is Sybil, and the first thought that came into my mind when you said miracle was openness, being aware of His presence and what He does.
Thank you.
Alan, and miracle equals Christ consciousness, or the perceived beingness of totality living in the moment.
It's almost a short phrase.
Pardon? It's okay.
That was
All I can do is speak it from the heart as I feel it.
good.
Angelica, and the word miracle would mean joy. Just something happening, overwhelming, it's joy. And we see it.
Thank you. Would the woman behind the camera like to participate?
Okay, my name is Maureen, and for me, miracle means a change in perception or the perfect outworking of the law.
Okay. Thank you. And my name is Mike, and as often happens when you go last, somebody pretty much nails it, which Maureen just did. A miracle is indeed specifically a change in perspective. But I will say, I will add one word to that, and I will say that to me, the first thing I think of when I think of the word miracle, at least in my current understanding, is love's perspective. That's what miracle is love's perspective. And a course in miracles, obviously the word miracle is a very important part of it, or that would not be in the title. The true aim of this book is, as mentioned in the introduction, is to help us remove the blocks to love's awareness. And when we are able to see basically all through love's perspective, that's basically what we're shooting for. That's the awareness level that gets us out of fear and into peace and love and joy. So we're kind of starting from the very beginning here. We talked in general about some very general principles last week, and I thought this week that we would actually get into the book. And after the introduction, which in just a few sentences does such a great job of explaining, I think, what this book is about, are listed, numbered 50 principles of miracles. So if we know that a miracle is a change in perspective, and that change is towards love's perspective, that's the overriding definition. But we now, here in the very beginning of the book, have 50 individual principles that apply to miracles. So I think what we're going to do is go through and read all 50 of these, and it's going to seem pretty overwhelming because you can literally take one of these principles each day and kind of meditate on it and really try and get to the deeper meaning of it. So we're going to really shotgun this tonight. But I think doing so, even running through all at once, will definitely give us a better understanding of what miracles are about and what that means. I think a lot of people, when they hear the word miracle, kind of think of the supernatural events that happen because of some a lot of times people's thoughts kind of go to drift back to the most famous miracle worker, at least in Western Western history, which was Jesus. He was a teacher, he was a rabbi, he was an enlightened being, but he did the best that he could during the time that he lived to teach people how to be aware of love's totalness, I think. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start off, and we're just basically going to go around the circle, and we're going to read one at a time, and perhaps or quite likely make some level of comment for each one, or perhaps not. And I would love for anybody who has an idea or a thought or something that comes to them as we read this to, after we have read a particular principle, to chime in with what comes into their mind and what comes into their heart. And I think it'll help us to get a better even deeper understanding at a personal level. So the first principle of miracles is, and it's a biggie, is that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not, quote, harder or, quote, bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal.
Okay. Can I say something?
Please
about
do.
that? All right. That is, when I got into A Course in Miracles, that was my favorite one. Because it really was, because when you start to try to manifest things, or you want a miracle to happen, you start thinking, you'll say, well, that's too hard. I won't go for that. Like if I wanted $1 million or something, I better go for something small, like maybe getting a new dress.
But if I ask for 4 numbers in the lottery and win $112, that
Yes.
seems possible, right?
That seems possible. That maybe I can make that miracle happen. But this bigger one, that's going to be a little too hard for God right now. Or maybe God is not going to bless me with that bigger miracle. So you give things that can happen for you. You weigh them, and in all reality, asking for a nickel is no different than asking for $1 million. You just believe that nickel will happen, where you just don't believe the million will. But the miracle of it manifesting is all the same. And so therefore, I absolutely love that one. And that's all I want to say.
It's a big one, for sure. Anybody else have a thought?
Yes, with character defects, I actually had the illusion that one character defect was more challenging than the other, when, loving totality is saying right there, a defect is a defect, it's not bigger or worse than, it's just an illusion. So I like that.
The last sentence is huge, I think. All expressions of love are maximal. That's kind of hard for us to really get a hold of based on our day-to-day experiences. The mind wants to tell us that, well, surely there's a difference between, a passing smile that you share with someone or versus, a lifetime's worth of commitment to a spouse or a child. And, it just seems like polar opposites. But, according to this, and, if we have to take this, if we take this as truth, then there literally is no difference between a momentary shared smile, glance between two people, a loving exchange of that nature, versus a lifetime's worth of sacrifice for your child or something. It's those two entities are equal.
Love is a state of being.
From love's perspective. It's interesting. It just made me. I just remembered on the way driving here. I don't know if you guys came north on Macmillan Booth or not, but. Just shortly before turning into the main entrance to this, there was a church on the right, and how churches like to have the little cute little sayings on their signs. This one I thought was excellent, and all it said was ABC, always believe Christ. And that just hit me. I was like, boom. Again, this information, again, purported to be written, and so much evidence, I think, within it that the entity who was known as Jesus is the author. I actually like to think of this information as coming from a slightly different source, but it's equivalent, it's the same thing. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't matter what you call it. But I think of all this information related to A Course in Miracles as coming from Christ consciousness, is the way I look at it. And to me, that's a much, much, much bigger and more encompassing type of source of information. Not to say that Jesus isn't an amazing source of information. Jesus, the man, so to speak, he was an enlightened being. But to me, Christ consciousness actually represents the totality of all enlightened beings acting as one. Mm-hmm. That's where I think this information comes from, is that level. So if if I think of the word Christ, that's sort of how my brain associates that word. So when I, am coming to talk about A Course in Miracles with some people, and I see the sign "Always Believe Christ," that like really kind of like boom, oh yeah.
We are all big believers in having those sacredness of synchronicities happen. We talk about that all the time, driving down the road, seeing signs, and yeah. And also, it's a miracle in itself, the Christ consciousness and all of the people with that consciousness. Just the more and more people that have that consciousness is a miracle in itself. So the miracle is
Absolutely. So I guess just one more thought on the ABC Always Believe Christ thing. There's some stuff in this book that really challenges your thoughts. It really challenges your understanding, your worldly understandings of what's what. Directly challenges. And if we can always fall back on ABC, Always Believe Christ, it doesn't matter when we read something that we don't like, when we read something in this book that doesn't seem to make sense, when we read something here that seems completely opposite of what our perception is telling us, if we can kind of let that go and just accept and always believe that what's written here is the truth, it's our job to try and interpret it properly so that it makes sense for us personally, then that makes things much easier. And there's somewhere in here where it says if you're looking for controversy, you will absolutely find it. There are many Christian terms which early on in my study of this book turned me off. My background towards spiritual leanings was a bit more comfortable with Eastern type philosophy. So, I personally had some real issues with some of the strong Christian terminology in this book, but the problem that I was having with it was not, my problem was not understanding what these terms actually meant. And there are many terms that are used in this book that have a specific association with something that we learned in a Christian type church, but honestly have little or no bearing or relationship to the oftentimes negative association that we're going to put towards that word. So anyway, no order of difficulty, all expressions of love are maximal. So, Sybil, if you would read the second one for us, please.
Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation.
What do you think that means?
The only thing that matters is it comes from God. That's our one true source of miracles.
Pretty straightforward, actually. So it's not the action, it's not the actual change in perspective that matters so much as what that perspective aligns itself with. Okay.
And I think that lines up with what I said, my definition of miracle. It's an openness and awareness of where it all comes from. It's all from God.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that it's from God.
100%. And, just for anybody who's watching this online or whatever and isn't familiar with this stuff, this book can be read at any number of levels and with any different types of viewpoints. You can still get so much out of this. We don't, I forgot where I was going with this. With that. It's okay. Let's move on. Number 3.
Number 3. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle.
It's beautiful.
That's great.
That's a good one. Any thoughts on that?
Miracle, you know what, sometimes for me it's better not to think and be, and I'm just going to be in this one. I've always said love is a state of being. It's not an emotion that goes up and down. And when it says miracles occur naturally as expressions of love, that's pretty all-encompassing. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them, which, to my understanding, is God, that Christ consciousness. For me, in this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. So make no mistake, everything that comes from love is a miracle. That just feels good.
So in a way, this one is sort of echoing the last one, is it not? It's not so much the act or the miracle or, it's the source of it. And when I think of the word Christ, I think of an equal sign. Christ equals love. That's how my brain sees it. Christ equals love. And the Christ consciousness awareness literally is at the same level as God's awareness. They're basically equivalent. You've got three parts to the sonship, which is God and to the Holy Trinity. I mean, there's God, there's the sonship, which is not one person who came to save us all. Jesus was an amazing, enlightened teacher. We are the sonship, every single one of us. On that point, let me just say, just real briefly, that another easy way to try and find controversy with this book is to say, well, I don't like the patriarchal nature of the terminology. Everything's father this and son that, and men, man. It all seems to refer to males. And honestly, that was a minor issue for me initially too. I had almost gotten to the point where when I would think or say something or say a prayer, I would basically do the Father, Mother, God thing, because to me, it's a balance. God is neither male nor female, and just like honestly, none of us are either male or female. We all have male and female hormones. We all have male and female attributes. Some stronger than others.
Going beyond the duality.
Beyond the duality. Duality is what creates male and female. God and God's awareness level, obviously there is no duality at that level. So, everything that comes from love is a miracle. That's pretty simple. Okay. Number 4.
All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specially. You will be told all you need to know.
And it's actually, the word that you used was actually worked as well, but it is His voice will direct you very specifically. All miracles mean life. God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. So, if that's the case, do we really even have to make great efforts to make things happen?
No.
Or according to that, can we just kind of like let go and let God, so as the saying goes?
Yeah, it's according to His time.
That's kind of what it's advocating,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Let go and let God. Quite frankly, that's what this entire course is about. Let go and let God. Turn it over. Surrender. We have created these wild fantasies within our consciousness that is referred to in the Course as the ego. And it's, most people can identify with the voice that they hear in their head. And the more spiritually aware that you become, the more you start to see the voice as not you, but as something separate. If we become the watcher of the voice that's happening in our head, then our perspective is not aligned with the voice. Our perspective is aligned with who we really are, and which is what we're trying to uncover here. So you will be told all that you need to know. That's pretty comforting if we take it literally. ABC, it's truth, so we have to take it literally, right? Okay, Maureen, would you read number 5?
Okay. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided.
She was to me in the car. What's that?
Wow.
You just said
That is kind of a big one, because I don't know how that relates to trying to manifest things. Do we consider that a miracle, or is that a whole different realm?
I think that if we see, here's the thing, according to the Course at least, we're not qualified to manifest. We can do it, we have the power, but our problem is that we don't really know what's best for us. So I think just based on what you just, my thought based on what you just said is that, the harder that we try, I was literally pretty heavy into the manifesting thing, this is cool, and that kind of actually makes me want to talk about a whole nother direction, which I probably shouldn't do because it would get off for a while.
Okay.
But I think the point is that if we are trying from our ego consciousness to create things because we think that's what's best for us, we're likely to get it depending on our ability to actually manifest, but are we going to like the results? How many times have any of us really wanted something, and as soon as we got it, either A, it didn't matter so much anymore, or B, it actually wasn't what was best for us at all?
And that's not a miracle, because if we're manifesting it, then the source wasn't God.
Right.
Well, we are co-creators, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is A Course in Miracle is beyond the co-creation.
I think what I'm saying is that in relationship to this particular saying, miracles or habits should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. I think the important point there is that it's important that we do our best at all times to not consciously try and dictate circumstances in our lives.
Right. And can I share an example, possibly? And again,
By all means, personal examples are the best.
Okay,
yeah, experience, strength, and hope. Yes?
Let me taste.
What's that?